247 photographs. Every single one honest. Not one of them forgiven. Her name is Zuri Mitchell, a Black American engagement photographer working out of Seoul who carries 2 cameras because she believes every room holds 2 stories. The one people stage and the one their eyes tell when they think no one is looking. The Kang-yoon engagement is the contract that saves her studio. The man at the center of it is Kang Ji-hwan, chairman, empire builder, the one they call the Silent King. There is a serpent tattoo rising from his collar like a warning no one reads aloud. She is there to photograph his love. What she captures is something else. And when his fiancée opens that gallery, frame by frame, all 247 of them, she sees what the room refused to notice. Because in every single photograph, Ji-hwan's eyes are somewhere they were never supposed to be. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. The cursor blinks on a half-processed file. Zuri hits export and doesn't wait for it to finish. She's already sliding the next memory card out of her camera, already scanning the next batch before the previous one loads. The studio is one room. A desk along the north wall, 2 monitors, a shelving unit of labeled hard drives arranged by client and date. The label on the slot nearest the door still reads, Repair Queue. The camera inside has been there 6 weeks. She opens the bank app, closes it. Opens her contract spreadsheet instead. 3 confirmed bookings, 4 pending, and 1 line highlighted in yellow at the top. Kang-yoon engagement event. The deposit alone covered 2 months' rent. The final payment would cover 4 more. She exhales slowly and saves the spreadsheet. The Grand Songwoo Hotel's ballroom occupied the 43rd floor of a Gangnam tower that most people only looked at from below. By the time Zuri arrived, 90 minutes early, someone had filled it with white orchids, crystal stemware, and the particular silence that expensive rooms hold before they fill with people. She paced it first. The chandeliers threw warm amber across the center floor. The southern wall was entirely glass, the city pulling silver light from the other side. She repositioned her harness straps and moved to the corner where the shadows fell cleanest. The string quartet was warming up. Nobody listened to them. Kang Ji-hwan arrived at 8:04 p.m. Zuri was framing an orchid arrangement near the entrance when the room changed. Not loudly, no announcement, but 300 guests shifted their weight at the same moment, and Zuri looked up. He was tall, broad-shouldered, unhurried in a way that suggested he had never once moved quickly because something frightened him. The tuxedo was bespoke, the kind that doesn't exist in stores. Yoon Se-ra stood at his side in ivory silk, her hand inside his arm, her smile calibrated for the cameras already pointing at them. Zuri raised her camera, took 2 frames, moved left for a better angle and kept working. It was the flower woman who slowed her down. The hotel worker, 60s, wide frame, her uniform a little tight across the shoulders, was adjusting an arrangement near the eastern window when Zuri noticed her hands. Practiced, deliberate, treating each stem like a decision. Zuri drifted closer without thinking and raised the camera. The woman saw the lens and froze. No, keep going, Zuri said quietly. I just liked your hands. The woman hesitated, then continued, stiff now with awareness. Zuri waited, let a few seconds pass. Then she stepped forward and tilted the camera screen toward her. The woman looked at the photograph of herself. Her face opened. She laughed, unguarded, and Zuri immediately raised the camera and caught it. She had no idea she was being watched. Across the ballroom, Kang Ji-hwan stood with a glass of water he hadn't touched and watched a photographer ignore 300 powerful people to follow the hands of a hotel worker. He said nothing. He simply watched. Formal portraits began at 9. Seda positioned herself near the window. the city spreading behind her like a backdrop she'd requested. Ji-hwan stood beside her. He was compliant, correct, everything a groom should be, except that twice in the first 5 minutes, Zuri caught him looking past Sarah's shoulder, toward nothing in particular. She adjusted the angle, raised the camera, lowered it. "Mr. Kang, slightly closer." He moved a few centimeters. "Closer than that." He moved. Sarah's smile held. Zuri raised the camera, framed the shot, and saw him looking left. "And eyes on your fiancé, please." Ji-hwan turned his head slowly, not towards Sarah, directly at Zuri. Silence. "I thought they were," he said. Zuri held the camera at eye level. "They weren't." His expression almost changed. The faintest trace of amusement crossed his face, a fraction of a second, gone before Sarah could catch it. Then he looked toward his fiancée, and the session continued. But all evening his gaze returned. Zuri never caught it directly. She was too busy working, group shots, candid frames, the couples table, crouching at the edge of the dance floor to catch Sarah laughing with her mother. She changed lenses twice. Someone pressed a glass of water into her hand. She drank half and set it down without stopping. A lens cap fell near the dance floor. She was 3 steps away when a hand reached it first. Ji-hwan held it out. He glanced at the label on its side. Zuri. She took the cap. That's usually how names work. Behind him, Do-yeon watched with barely concealed disbelief. Ji-hwan almost smiled. Zuri had already turned away and raised her camera at the quartet. She left at 11:47 p.m. Hard drives first, then lenses, then the camera body. She sealed the bag and rolled her shoulders, already running the night through her memory. The backlight near the couple's table she'd corrected too late. The 3 frames of Sarah actually laughing. The chandeliers that had finally cooperated after midnight. Good work. Maybe her best engagement set yet. She slung the bag over her shoulder and walked toward the elevator without looking back at the room. The cameras had recorded everything. She left carrying what they'd caught, with no idea what it was. The gallery arrived on a Tuesday morning. 247 images, delivered to Sarah's private email with a subject line that read, "Kang Yoon Engagement Preview, Mitchell Studio." Sarah opened it at her desk with a cup of tea still steaming beside her. She scrolled through the first 30 images the way anyone would, with a small, practiced smile. The flower arrangements were magnificent. The lighting on the champagne tower was exactly right. Her portraits were immaculate. She looked the way she was supposed to look. Then one image stopped her. Ji-hwan standing at her left, her hand resting on his arm. His body angled toward her, correct in every external way. But his gaze directed just past her shoulder, into the middle distance. She assumed it was a blink in timing, a candid moment between shots. She kept scrolling. The same result. Another frame, the guests blurred in the background. Ji-hwan's eyes not on the camera, not on Sarah, somewhere else. She opened a toast sequence. 9 images. In 6, Ji-hwan's attention had drifted to the same location in the room. She checked the dinner photographs, pulled up the speech coverage, went through the family portraits one by one, slower now, the tea going cold beside her. She found the defining image near photograph 191. She is standing at Ji-hwan's left, turned toward him, a full smile on her face, the kind of smile she had practiced for this event. Ji-hwan should be looking at her. Instead, his eyes are aimed past her shoulder, across the room, where a figure is visible in soft focus near the far wall. The braids. Shoulder length, dark, unmistakable even at that distance. The photographer adjusting equipment, face angled down, completely unaware. Ji-hwan's expression in that photograph is something Sarah has no immediate category for. Quiet. Unguarded. The kind of attention a person gives something before they know they're being observed. She had known Ji-hwan for more than 20 years, and he had never once looked at her that way. She closed the laptop. She did not call Ji-hwan. She called Mitchell Studio. The line rang 4 times, then a voice, calm, professional, with a faint American accent. Seda kept her own voice even. "What exactly happened between you and my fiancé?" A pause. "I photographed your engagement." "That's not what I asked." "Then you're asking the wrong person." Seda said Zuri had maneuvered for Ji-hwan's attention all evening, that the camera was convenient cover, that she'd made a choice. Zuri's response was quiet and precise. "I was carrying 2 cameras and working for 9 hours. I promise you, seducing your fiancé wasn't on my schedule." The line went dead. 2 days later, the remaining payment never came. The damage started the way most serious damage starts, quietly, and from multiple directions at once. A wedding contract Zuri had been negotiating for 3 months went silent. No explanation, no email, just silence where there had been enthusiasm. She followed up twice. The 3rd message bounced with an auto-reply about schedule changes. Then a corporate event cancellation arrived by form letter. The Aria Grand Hotel removed her from its preferred vendor list without notice. She found out when a potential client called to verify her status and mentioned, almost gently, that her name wasn't there. Zuri built her response the way she built everything, methodically. She pulled every email thread she had with Mitchell Studio clients, organized the raw files with timestamps, every contract, every deliverable confirmation. She documented her timeline for the Kang Yoon event: arrival at 1400, wrap at 2317, 0 private communication with Ji-hwan before or after the booking, not a single message outside the official inquiry channel. She sent the documentation to 3 clients who had gone quiet, followed up by phone, offered to walk anyone through anything, answer every question, provide references going back 4 years. One event coordinator responded with a meeting request, then canceled the morning of. A corporate client who had booked her 3 consecutive years sent a brief note about reconsidering vendor arrangements. A luxury wedding agency that had been sending her 2 referrals a month simply stopped. One person called her back. A former client, a woman who had hired Zuri for her sister's wedding 2 years ago, someone she had considered close. The call lasted 6 minutes. Near the end, the woman's voice dropped. "I believe you, but I can't afford to make the Yoons my enemy." Zuri sat with the phone in her hand for a long time after that. She had built her entire defense around the wrong assumption, treating this like a dispute she could win by being correct, by the timestamps, by the contracts, by proving nothing happened because nothing had. But the Yoon family proved nothing, made no accusations publicly, posted no statement, named no names. They only needed to make a call, then another, then one more. The people on the receiving end would do the arithmetic themselves and decide which side they could afford to be on. Zuri walked to the window and looked down at the street. 7 months ago, she had stood in that same spot watching the moving truck unload her equipment, certain Seoul was the right bet. In the past week, she had lost 3 confirmed bookings, 2 pending contracts, and access to a vendor network built over 2 years. And Sarah Yoon had issued no public statement. That was what settled into Zuri's chest like cold water. Not the losses themselves, the silence they arrived in, and how much further it could reach. 3 weeks later, the studio walls showed their bones. Pale rectangles marked where photographs had hung, 43 inches by 31. The gallery prints she'd mounted herself on a Sunday afternoon 2 years ago, with borrowed tools and borrowed courage. Gone now, stacked in bubble wrap inside the second box near the door. The first box held the frame certifications, the spare drives, the backup cables. A third box waited, unfolded and flat on the floor. Zuri set a length of packing tape and moved to her laptop. The listing was still up. Canon EOS R5, 45 megapixels, pristine condition. The price she'd typed was fair, fairer than it should have been, but she needed it gone. She checked it twice and closed the tab. 2 new messages in her inbox. The first, Hannah Events, citing scheduling conflicts. The second, a corporate client she'd worked with for 3 consecutive years. No explanation, just regret and a formal sign-off. She read both without reacting. Then she closed the laptop. She picked up her father's camera from the shelf near the window. The 35mm Minolta, black body worn silver at the edges, strap replaced twice since he'd given it to her at 17. She'd shot her first real roll with this, developed it in a community center darkroom, hands shaking under the red light. The sale listing didn't include this one. It couldn't. She held it a moment, set it back on the shelf. Her phone lit up. Maya calling. "You look fine," Maya said. "I am fine." "You're lying, but go ahead." Zuri turned the phone so Maya could see the studio behind her. The bare walls, the stacked boxes, the unfolded third box still on the floor. She said nothing. "Okay," Maya said. "Are you quitting?" "Photography?" Zuri almost laughed. "Never." She looked past the phone screen, through the studio, at the window beyond. Seoul at night pressed against the glass, tower lights, the Han River glittering 2 kilometers west, the ordinary permanence of a city that had continued while she contracted. "Seoul," she said. "Maybe." "Zuri, I'm tired of defending myself to people who already know I'm innocent." Maya went quiet for 3 seconds. For Maya, that meant something. "You built something there," Maya said finally. "I know." She meant it. That was the part that twisted. Not the anger, not even the humiliation. She'd survived both before. It was the recognition that she had done her job correctly. She had delivered exceptional photographs to an exacting brief, and those photographs had captured something true, something neither she nor the couple had arranged or orchestrated. A moment of private grief in a public performance. Her camera had been in the right place, doing exactly what cameras were built to do. And it had cost her this. The call ended. She set the phone on the nearest box. Maya's question was still there. She moved to the window. The city held its shape below her. Storefronts, scaffolding on a building 2 blocks north, a woman walking a small dog past the convenience store, the uninterrupted rhythm of streets that carried no record of her name. She had photographed this city at dawn and at midnight. She had sat in apartments translating contracts with her phone dictionary because the agency she'd hired had turned out not to exist. She had learned to order coffee correctly, apologize correctly, negotiate correctly, and she had built a client list that took 4 years to reach critical mass. She had been building something. She went back to her laptop and opened the engagement files. She left the folder open for a long moment before touching anything. Then she started from the beginning. The formal shots first, Ji-hwan and Sarah arranged against the venue backdrop, the approved smiles, the official record. Then the candid sequence, the unguarded expression on his face, the moment of contact that had not, she now understood, looked like what it looked like in these photographs. Or maybe it had. Maybe that was exactly what it had looked like, and everyone in that room had decided not to see it. She would not delete them. They were hers. They were the truth. Whatever happened to the listing, whatever the next email said, whatever else Sarah's legal team had in reserve, these photographs existed, and she had taken them, and they would stay. She closed the folder, shut the laptop, began folding the third box into shape. She worked for another hour. Camera bag emptied, inventoried, hard drives labeled and wrapped. The bubble wrap squeaked under her hands in the quiet. She was methodical. She passed the Minolta on the shelf twice and kept moving. She did not give herself the room to reconsider. At 11:30, she sealed the last box, put on her coat, and locked the studio. A steady rain had started at some point, the kind that soaked without announcing itself. She stood under the awning with her phone in her hand. She should call a car. She pulled up the app and then held still, looking down at the street. She noticed it then. A black car, long, engine idling, parked at the curb with its lights on, facing the studio entrance. She had never seen it on this street before. She stood still. The rain came down. The car held its position. The car outside was Do-Yun's. Ji-hwan had sent him 3 days before, when the silence around Zuri Mitchell's name started to feel deliberate. Do-Yun had been watching the studio, gathering what Ji-hwan had already half suspected. When Ji-hwan arrived at the building across the street, Do-Yun gave his report without preamble. The withheld payment, the vendor cancellations, Sarah's calls to 4 event planners and 2 hotels, not accusations, just careful words placed in the right ears. A professional reputation unmade through suggestion, over almost 3 weeks. Ji-hwan listened without moving. When Do-Yun finished, the silence lasted long enough that a passing car cleared the block entirely. How long? Almost 3 weeks. And nobody thought I should know? Do-Yun had no answer that would serve him. Ji-hwan moved on without one. He met Seta at the Gangnam apartment that evening. She was composed, already arranging her expression into something reasonable. Ji-hwan stood near the door and remained standing. Did you interfere with the photographer's work? Seta's chin lifted. She humiliated me. She took photographs. Of you staring at her. The room held that. Ji-hwan looked at her steadily and said nothing. The silence had its own shape, and Seta felt it. You're not even going to say I'm wrong? About what the photographs show? No. She looked away first. Mitchell's studio was dark from the street except for the light in the upper window. Ji-hwan climbs the stairs alone. Do-Yun left at the car, no security visible, and knocked once. Zuri opened the door. Braids pulled back, a half-packed box on the desk behind her. The large monitor cast light across a wall of contact sheets. She took one look at him, dark trousers, simple black shirt, no jacket, and her face settled into something careful and closed. If you're here for the files, I'll send them tonight. He stepped inside without asking. She let him. He saw the boxes, then the laptop screen opened to an equipment inventory, descriptions, serial numbers, estimated resale values. He set a document on her desk. She looked at the figure without touching the paper. You didn't owe me personally. Someone did. He placed a second document beside the first. Zuri pushed it back across the desk. No. Those contracts disappeared because of my family. She looked at him directly. Your fiancé. He let the words stand. The engagement gallery was still open on her monitor, the full sequence from the Hanam estate, unsorted. Ji-hwan crossed the room toward it. He moved through the frames slowly, the way someone reads a letter they were not meant to find. He stopped. The photograph had been taken mid-event. Seta beside Ji-hwan turned toward him, her smile social and precise. Ji-hwan faced forward, his expression neutral. His gaze had slipped past Seta's shoulder, past the guests and the arranged flowers, to a single point in the background. Zuri, adjusting her secondary camera, completely absorbed in her own work, unaware of the image she was part of. Zuri crossed her arms. I didn't notice until I started editing. Ji-hwan said nothing. Do you want me to delete them? A long pause. The rain tapped the window. No. Why? For the first time, someone photographed the truth. She studied the side of his face. What truth? He turned from the monitor. That I was standing beside the woman I was supposed to marry. He looked at Zuri, and looking at someone else. She moved one step back. That's not my problem. I know. Your fiancé doesn't. She will. The engagement ended the following week. No announcement, no public statement, just the formal retraction that moved through the same network Seta had used to spread the damage. Hotels received corrections. Event planners were contacted directly. The information reversed itself the same way it had traveled, quietly, through the right channels, arriving before anyone thought to ask. Former clients began reaching out to Zuri within days, her inbox filled. She didn't reach out to Jihuan. He called her. She let him say what he had arranged, then cut in. "I didn't ask you to rescue me." "I know." "Fix what your fiancé did, but don't decide what happens to my life." He understood. He had not called to claim anything. A wrong had moved through his name, and his name was the only instrument available to undo it. That was the limit of it, and he stayed inside it. 6 months later, the gallery opened in Mapo. The things we notice, in small letters near the entrance. The photographs covered white walls, a security guard before dawn, face lit by a phone screen. 3 children at a crosswalk, the middle one reaching up to hold both hands at once. An elderly couple at a bus stop, not speaking, leaning slightly toward each other. A chef in an empty kitchen after the last service, chair turned toward the wall. At the back of the gallery hung one portrait. Jihuan beside a studio window. Simple black shirt. A faint ease in his expression that most people who knew him would not recognize. No title card, no explanation. He stood in front of it for a long time. People had filled the space around him without his noticing. Zuri came to stand beside him.
Still refusing to delete it?
She looked at the portrait, then at him. Never. He looked at her. No camera between them, nothing left to arrange. Just the gallery, the rain beginning outside, and the fact that he was here. She raised her father's film camera, the old one she almost never used in public, and framed him. He let her. The shutter clicked once, and this time she knew exactly what she had caught. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever held the honest photograph and been punished for it? Has someone's power ever been enough to make your truth disappear? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about truth, power, and dignity, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.